Sometimes life doesn't need a revolution. It just needs a small shift, a simple change of direction. We keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect miracle. But life begins to transform the very moment you decide to take responsibility for it. Imagine this, just 5 days and 5 small habits. Not huge sacrifices, not dramatic changes, just simple actions that quietly reshape the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you live. When we adopt the right habits, even small ones, they begin to work like tiny seeds planted in the soil of our everyday routine. At first, the seed looks insignificant, but soon it grows into a tree that gives shade, strength, and direction. In the same way, these 5 simple daily habits may seem small today, but they carry the power to change the entire landscape of your life. If you're willing to give just a few minutes each day, if you're willing to nourish your mind, center your emotions, and align your actions, then in 5 days, you won't just feel different, you will be different. Because change doesn't come from what we wish for, it comes from what we practice. There is a special kind of magic hidden inside the smallest actions we repeat every day. Most people look for life-changing breakthroughs in grand events, dramatic decisions, or sudden inspiration. But the real transformation quietly begins in the habits we perform almost without thinking. A simple thought repeated becomes an attitude repeated becomes a behavior, and a behavior repeated becomes the shape of our life. When we understand this deeply, we no longer underestimate the weight of small habits. We begin to see them as gentle but powerful tools that can reshape our emotional world, our spiritual strength, our discipline, and our relationship with ourselves. The truth is, we don't need to wait for a new year, a new month, or a new phase of life to change. We simply need to decide that today, right now, is important enough to begin. Every human being desires improvement. We all want to feel lighter, happier, clearer, and more purposeful. But the mistake we often make is believing that change must be sudden, intense, and overwhelming. We try to change everything at once. We make long lists of goals, huge promises, and complex plans. And then, when reality meets our expectations, we discover that such drastic change exhausts us. It drains our inner energy, and within days we fall back to our old patterns. This is because the mind resists anything that feels like a shock. The mind is like a gentle companion. It likes comfort, rhythm, and familiarity. So when we try to transform our life through big leaps, the mind becomes uncomfortable and pulls us back. But when we introduce tiny habits, soft habits, simple habits, the mind feels safe. It accepts the change, supports it, and slowly starts to enjoy it. Imagine planting a seed. You don't shout at it, push it, or tell it to grow in one day. You simply water it a little daily. You trust the process. You allow the soil to work from beneath the surface. The seed sprouts quietly, then grows patiently. This is how habits work. When you water them daily, you won't notice the change on day 1 or even day 2. But by day 5, something inside you feels different. Your mind becomes more focused, your heart more peaceful, your energy more aligned. You begin to understand that consistency is far more powerful than intensity. The small daily habit you planted has begun to grow roots inside you. And once a habit grows roots, it becomes a part of you, not something you struggle to maintain. The power of small, consistent habits is emotional, spiritual, and deeply connected to how we treat ourselves. Because every habit is a message we send to our inner self. When you practice a positive habit daily, you're telling yourself, I matter, my growth matters, my peace matters. And that message begins to heal parts of you that feeling ignored, neglected, or rushed by the demands of life. We live in a fast world where everyone is running, but running without direction brings exhaustion, not elevation. Small habits give direction to your energy. They guide you gently out of confusion and into clarity. Let's imagine the first simple daily habit, taking 5 minutes every morning before touching your phone, before jumping into the world, simply to breathe deeply and center yourself. It sounds like nothing extraordinary, but the effect it creates is profound. When you breathe consciously, slowly, with awareness, you tell your mind that today will be lived with calmness, not chaos. You tell your heart that it is safe. You tell your thoughts that they do not control you, you control them. Suddenly your morning, which used to feel heavy, begins to feel lighter. You're not chasing the day anymore, you're leading it. And all this from a habit that takes only minutes. Another simple habit is gratitude. Not the grand gratitude we speak about when something big happens, but small gratitude. The kind that comes from noticing the sunlight entering your window, the warmth of tea in your hands, the smile of someone you love, the fact that your heart is still beating with strength and purpose. When you practice small gratitude every day, your emotional world transforms. Gratitude is like a soft cloth that wipes away the dust from the heart. It doesn't change your circumstances instantly, but it changes the lens through which you see life. And when the lens becomes clearer, life automatically feels kinder. Consistency in small habits also builds trust. Trust not in the world, not in people, but in yourself. And self-trust is one of the most powerful emotional strengths a person can develop. When you keep promises to yourself, no matter how small, you begin to believe in your own strength again. Many people live with silent disappointment because they've broken promises to themselves too often. They said they would wake up early but didn't. They said they would take care of their health but postponed it. They said they would reduce overthinking but allowed their mind to run wild. Every broken promise weakens your inner voice, but small habits, consistently practiced, restore that voice. They rebuild trust gently and beautifully. The more you trust yourself, the more love, confidence, and emotional stability you experience within. Now consider the emotional impact of small habits on relationships. When your mind is calmer, when your heart is lighter, when your daily routine carries peace instead of pressure, the people around you feel safer with you. You speak gently, you listen deeply, and you respond instead of reacting. A simple habit like taking a pause before responding in a heated moment can save thousands of unnecessary arguments. A habit like giving someone your full attention for even 2 minutes can build stronger bonds. Small habits create large shifts in the climate of your relationships because love grows in environments where habits of care and attention exist. There is also a spiritual dimension to small habits. When you take a few minutes each day to reflect, to connect with your deeper purpose, to remember that life is bigger than its problems, you begin to feel guided from within. You begin to feel that every day is a gift, not a burden. These moments of internal connection may be small, but they awaken something powerful. The awareness that life is happening for you, not against you. This shift brings immense emotional healing. The spiritual clarity you gain from small habits becomes a shield that protects you from unnecessary worry, fear, and negativity. People often underestimate the emotional exhaustion caused by an unstructured life. When your day controls you instead of you controlling your day, you feel scattered, overwhelmed, and powerless. But when you practice small habits regularly, your day becomes organized, your thoughts become intentional, and your energy becomes disciplined. Suddenly, you don't feel like life is dragging you around. You feel like you are gently guiding your life, step by small step, breath by small breath. By the 5th day of practicing these simple habits, something beautiful begins to happen. You develop momentum. You start feeling proud of yourself, even if you don't say it out loud. You begin to look forward to your little rituals. You begin to crave peace instead of chaos, clarity instead of confusion, and progress instead of procrastination. That inner momentum becomes the force that carries you forward, turning days into weeks and weeks into a lifestyle. And it all began with tiny habits, repeated with love and sincerity. The emotional transformation is subtle but undeniable. You experience fewer emotional ups and downs. Your reactions soften. Your patience grows. You feel more connected to yourself. You become more aware of your thoughts and less controlled by them. The beauty of small habits is that they don't only change what you do, they change who you are becoming. You start becoming gentler, wiser, and more intentional. You begin to live your life, not just pass through it. And the most heart-touching part of all is this: small habits remind you that change is possible. They remind you that you are not stuck, not helpless, not too late, not too broken. They remind you that even if life has been difficult, even if your mind has been heavy, even if your heart has been tired, you still have the power to shape your future. You still have the power to choose differently today. You still have the power to rise again. Not dramatically, but consistently, lovingly, quietly. Small habits show you that transformation is not loud, it is gentle, not rushed, but rhythmic, not forced, but embraced. Because when you take small steps every day, life begins to open in ways you never imagined. Your inner world begins to glow again. Your emotions begin to settle. Your purpose begins to whisper inside you, guiding you toward a better, brighter, calmer version of yourself. Mindfulness over mindlessness is one of the simplest yet most life-altering principles a person can embrace, and yet it is often misunderstood as something complicated, something reserved for sages sitting in mountains or monks living in silence. But mindfulness is not far away from us. It is not something that needs perfect surroundings or long retreats. Mindfulness is the gentle act of being present, fully aware of what you are doing, feeling, thinking, and experiencing in this very moment. And it is this simple practice, woven into our daily routine like a soft thread, that has the power to transform our inner world completely. We live in a time when distractions pull us from every direction. Notifications, thoughts, comparisons, fears, what ifs, worries about tomorrow, regrets about yesterday. Without realizing it, most people spend more time in the world inside their head than in the world happening around them. They live on autopilot, doing everything but never truly experiencing anything. This is mindlessness, the act of living without being truly alive. And because of it, we feel emotionally drained, spiritually empty, and mentally scattered. But the moment we choose mindfulness, even in the smallest ways, we return to ourselves. We return to life itself. Mindfulness begins with something as simple as noticing your breath. Breath is the bridge between the mind and the body, the heart and the soul. When life becomes overwhelming, when emotions rise like storms, when confusion fogs your clarity, it is the breath that quietly brings you back. Imagine spending 1 minute every day just to notice your breathing. 1 minute where you let go of everything else. 1 minute where you don't judge your thoughts, you don't resist your emotions, you don't try to fix anything, you simply observe. That 1 minute becomes a doorway into your inner peace. This simple habit slowly teaches your mind that calmness is its home, not chaos. The breath becomes a reminder that even in the busiest days, the most stressful moments, peace is never far. It is as close as your next inhale. Mindfulness also means listening, not with the intention to respond, but with the intention to understand. How many relationships lose their warmth because people listen with half a mind? How many moments of connection are lost because we are too distracted to truly hear someone's heart? Mindfulness in listening is a small habit with a huge emotional impact. When you look into someone's eyes, put away your phone, and give them the gift of full attention for even a minute, you create a space where love can breathe and understanding can grow. The person in front of you feels valued, seen, and respected. And those feelings strengthen relationships more than grand gestures ever can. Emotional intimacy is born from mindful presence, not from expensive gifts or long speeches. So when you practice mindful listening every day, even for a few seconds, your relationships begin to heal, soften, and deepen in the most beautiful ways. Another aspect of mindfulness is eating with awareness. In our fast world, meals are often rushed. People eat while scrolling, while watching something, while thinking about something else, while planning the next task. Food enters the body, but gratitude doesn't enter the heart. The body receives nutrition, but the mind remains hungry. When you eat mindfully, even one meal a day, you reconnect with your senses. You taste your food. You feel the textures. You acknowledge the blessings in front of you. Honor the journey of every grain that reached your plate. And as you eat slowly with awareness, you also notice how your body responds. You realize when you are full. You feel grateful instead of restless. This simple act of mindful eating brings emotional stability, reduces stress, and strengthens your connection to the present moment. It turns an ordinary daily activity into a spiritual practice of gratitude and grounding. Mindfulness is also about observing your thoughts without letting them control your emotions. The mind produces thoughts relentlessly. Fears, expectations, judgments, memories, imaginations. Most people believe their thoughts automatically represent truth, so they react immediately, emotionally, and sometimes painfully. But mindfulness teaches a different truth. A thought is just a thought. It is not you. It has no power unless you pick it up, believe it, or feed it. Imagine the freedom in simply watching your thoughts pass like clouds across the sky without chasing them. Imagine noticing a negative thought, and instead of fighting it or fearing it, you simply smile gently and let it move on. This tiny habit reduces overthinking in the most profound way. You no longer feel trapped by the storms in your mind. You become the sky, wide open and unaffected by the clouds drifting across it. And when the mind becomes clear, the heart becomes peaceful. This clarity guides you through the day with emotional balance and inner confidence. Mindfulness in actions is equally transformative. When you walk, walk with awareness. Feel your steps. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the movement of your body. When you shower, feel the water. When you drink tea, feel its warmth. When you speak, be aware of your tone. When you smile, let it come from a place of sincerity. These little actions done with awareness bring a sweetness and richness to life that most people miss because they are always rushing. Mindfulness slows the pace of life, not to make you lazy, but to make you conscious. A conscious mind makes better decisions. A conscious heart expresses purer emotions. A conscious person lives with more gratitude and less regret. Mindlessness, on the other hand, drains your energy. When you rush through life doing everything but feeling nothing, you create a silent emptiness inside. This emptiness grows into stress, impatience, irritation, and dissatisfaction. You feel like something is missing, but you can't explain what. It is not something outside. It is the absence of presence, the absence of mindfulness. When you bring mindfulness back into your daily life, the emptiness begins to fill with simple joys. The breeze feels nicer. The colors around you seem brighter. Conversations feel meaningful. Silence feels comforting. Your own company feels peaceful. These are not miracles. They are the natural results of living consciously instead of mechanically. There is something deeply emotional about mindfulness because it brings you back to your heart. When you slow down and become aware, you begin to notice your own feelings with compassion. You stop judging yourself for feeling sad, anxious, or tired. Instead, you sit with your emotions like a gentle friend. You listen to what your heart is trying to tell you. You treat your emotional wounds with kindness instead of criticism. This kind of mindful self-compassion heals you from within. It teaches you that your worth is not defined by productivity or perfection. Your worth is inherent, untouched by mistakes or expectations. Mindfulness becomes a form of self-love, a soft reminder that you deserve patience, gentleness, and care from yourself. Mindfulness also restores your spiritual connection. When you are present, you begin to sense the subtle guidance that life constantly offers. You notice signs, synchronicities, and quiet intuitions that were always there but drowned beneath noise and hurry. You begin to feel protected, supported, and guided. You start trusting that there is a deeper order behind the events of your life. That trust brings emotional strength. The heart becomes calm because it knows it is not walking alone. Mindfulness opens this spiritual doorway effortlessly. You don't need long prayers or complicated rituals. A few moments of pure awareness are enough to reconnect your soul with its source. One of the sweetest gifts of mindfulness is that it brings beauty back into ordinary life. Watching the sky, feeling the morning sun, listening to birds, noticing the smile of a child, feeling gratitude for the water you drink, appreciating a moment of silence. These small things that mindlessness ignores become treasures through the eyes of mindfulness. Life becomes richer without anything new entering it. You begin to understand that happiness was never hidden in the future. It was always present, waiting for your awareness to arrive. Mindfulness turns problems into lessons instead of burdens. When you are present, you don't panic immediately. You respond with clarity. You see solutions that stress would have blinded you to. You communicate better. You think more rationally. You maintain emotional balance even in challenging situations. This is not because problems disappear. It is because you stop reacting blindly and start responding consciously. Even 5 days of practicing mindful awareness can shift your emotional patterns. You become less reactive, more patient, more grounded. The people around you sense this calmness. Your presence becomes soothing instead of stressful. You bring peace into rooms instead of absorbing their chaos. Most importantly, mindfulness turns life into an experience, not a race. You stop waiting for the weekend, waiting for success, waiting for approval, waiting for happiness. You begin to live now, in this breath, in this step, in this moment. And when you live in the present, even your smallest actions gain meaning. Washing dishes becomes calming, folding clothes becomes grounding, sitting quietly becomes healing. Mindfulness transforms the ordinary into extraordinary simply by removing the fog of inattentiveness. And as you practice mindfulness daily, you begin to notice a beautiful transformation within. Your mind becomes clearer. Your emotions become wiser. Your reactions become softer. Your presence becomes deeper. People feel safe with you. You feel safe with yourself. You no longer feel lost in the noise of life. You begin to navigate your days with intention, with awareness, and with love. Because mindfulness is ultimately an act of love. Love for the present moment, love for the people around you, and love for your own self.